Hi, this is Stephen and Jennifer with Iowa Backyard Farmer, and today we're talking tomatoes. We get asked all the time, what's your favorite tomato? What should I grow? We grow a lot of things for our spring plant sale, and everybody wants to know what's the best one. Answer is, it depends. It depends. Depends on what you're doing and depends on what you need. I would submit that a cherry tomato does not make a very good BLT.
That's true. And there's a lot of things that have changed over the years. As we were going and organizing our seeds this morning, realized over the last several years we've rotated through a lot of different varieties, tested a lot of different varieties. On any given year, we'll grow about 70.
I think we have 77 this year.
Yeah, so, but there's thousands of varieties out there. And so we always like to try them and see what sticks, what meets our criteria, what's worth carrying and growing again. Not everything passes the test, though.
We have a very large retired bag this year where there's things that are okay to grow, but they didn't make the cut. So let's talk about what did not work.
What didn't work? So if you want to talk about what we trialed last year, maybe we sold last year, but we found something even better this year.
Yeah.
So, okay, yep. Where would you like to start?
I really liked our trial cherry last year. That was probably the biggest win for me. We have a very large assortment of cherry tomatoes, and it's a good category for having a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences in color and shape and flavor. But we found one last year that I was like, oh, we can replace a whole bunch with this one. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so I'm going through our list here. So if we look first at our Determinate one, so the cherries that we can grow in a container, basically, they can grow in a garden as well, but if you're only growing in a container, you'd want to stick with typically a Determinate or a dwarf Indeterminate type. So we've grown for several years. The patio choice, red patio choice, yellow patio choice, still really good tomatoes.
Yeah, those are both still on the list.
But for a grape tomato, what we found this last year is Ruby Crush. And the seeds were really expensive, so we trialed that last year. Didn't want to sell it because
if it didn't work, it was going to be expensive.
If it didn't work, it was going to be really expensive for us. But we trialed that one in containers, and holy smokes, compared to everything else, it was amazing.
It was amazing. It out-yielded everything. It tasted fantastic. I brought them in. I made batch after batch of the cherry tomato salsa because I was like, what do I do with, we have a lot of tomatoes, 10 pounds of cherry tomatoes at a time. You have to do something. But it produced. It tasted good. And we retired like 3 other things.
Yeah, so several others that were fine tomatoes, but at the end of the year especially is where you can really tell the difference. The Ruby Crush held its size the entire year, whereas a lot of the others got smaller and smaller and smaller. They had just enough meat to them that they're good in a salsa, where there's some of the other ones that we're no longer offering that you would cut them and it would like disappear because it was just
all seeds and juice.
All seeds and juice, which for, they have their place, but for what we were looking for, Ruby Crush really just hit it out of the park.
So that one comes with high recommendations. That one's a new favorite. We trialed a couple other ones last year. One that didn't make the list was Tasmanian Chocolate.
Tasmanian Chocolate. So that was kind of it's a cross between a couple of old varieties. It just didn't. It
didn't do what we wanted to, and it was not as pretty as I hoped it would be. Instead, it was like a purple and a red crossed, and it made a brown, which I guess is the chocolate part, but the application of that on a tomato I did not find to be attractive.
Yeah,
it didn't look as cute as I thought it was going to.
It was not attractive, and it was hard to know when it was ripe, and so it was very easy for them to rot on the vine.
Yeah.
So they just didn't they didn't meet the criteria in any particular way. So
yeah,
that one was only passed on.
It'd be, but somebody could probably like it. It'd be okay. Let's go back. I don't know. Was there anything else that we?
So as far as the little determinants, that I think that covers it really well. But let's talk about some of the indeterminates that we're looking at this year as well.
Yeah. So we're really trying to get something for every spot because we talk to so many people and everybody's growing in a different situation, and so things that can be grown in a pot, things get produced really well. The indeterminate cherry tomatoes. Those are the ones that are going to keep growing, keep getting tall, but there's an astonishing amount of variety and flavor.
Yeah, and we've really struggled to narrow this list down, and this year it's even worse.
It's easy to add on this one. We have a long list.
Yeah, so long time ones that we've had for ever since we started growing tomatoes. What is it? Chadwick cherries, kind of an old heirloom. We've had that one for a long time. Still
It's
sticking
fine.
with that one. Classic tomatoey flavor. That one's really good. The other one that is probably our #1 seller all time is Super Sweet 100.
It's like the standard.
It's a standard grape, or not grape,
It does
cherry
yeah.
tomato. Tastes really good, tastes really sweet.
It's very reliable, very productive.
And we've not had any issues with it, and so it's been our #1 seller. My only concern with it is the plant gets monster size. And so even when we're selling them towards the end of the season, we're pulling out 4-foot stakes just to be able to hold the plant up. And I know a lot of people have complained or expressed concern that, man, these things get big.
It's not good for a pot.
It's definitely not good for a pot. It just gets really big. So we're looking around for what what works just as well, as just as good, if not better, and doesn't become monster size. So we're trialing several others this year, and did put them on our list. We've learned enough that we're comfortable enough to let people buy them and tell us what they think as well. Sakura is one of the ones that we're trying this year.
This will be a new one for us this year.
And so that one comes highly recommended by a lot of market gardeners. And
it's sweeter, is it not?
It is sweeter.
So the standard, if we just used the Sweet 100 as a standard red cherry tomato, this is going to be sweeter. And what else?
Sweeter, and it's a tidier plant.
So
I'm looking
more under control.
Looking for both the sweeter flavor, because that seems to be what most people are looking for in a cherry tomato, but also something that's not going to take over the world like some of the others. So Sakura is one that we're trying out. Sun Peach is another one that we are trying out. Both of those come highly recommended from market gardeners. And that one, if you look on YouTube, there's a bunch of people that do videos and talk about how amazing that flavor of Sun Peach is.
This is just me. I thought you say Sun Peach, and I thought it was going to be like orange.
No.
It's not. It's pink.
It's pink. It's a dark pink.
Which is good. And then you have Candyland on there too.
So yeah, on the smaller size, on more the currant size, kind of a large currant one, we've got Candyland that we're bringing in this year. And that one has the highest bricks of anything that we are growing this year. Bricks of 12. That's a measure of soluble sugars. Usually translates into sweetness.
And the white currant, those two currants, they're both really super sweet.
Really, really sweet. One of the things I like about the Candyland Red is it is a tidier plant. So the white
tend to be a little out of control too.
they can take over your garden pretty easily.
So
And Candyland Red is a dwarf indeterminate, so it will produce all season long, but it shouldn't take over the garden like the white currant did.
Yeah, and rounding out those indeterminate tomatoes, we would have the husky cherry, which works for almost everybody. I really like that one. If you want a tidy thing that's going to keep growing all summer and give you fabulous cherries, the husky cherries really stand out. And Sparky, which for us for several years now has been a standout, just because, I mean, it's not like the most sweet or the most anything, but it produces all summer long, and at the end of the season when everything else is gone, it's
still producing. And even that one has a bricks of 8.5.
Yeah,
which Super Sweet 100 being the standard is a bricks of 6, and so it's still sweet, but there's others that are
with the 12.
That are sweeter.
A lot of competition.
Yeah.
So it's a good one. And then you have
so Sweet Million is another one that we're looking at that we think maybe can help relieve some of the pressure on Super Sweet 100 for those that are looking for a little bit smaller plant, a little bit sweeter. Still, it's a big plant, but it sounds like not quite as big as Super Sweet 100.
And then we branch out. So that was a lot of red tomatoes. You have some of our fun colored tomatoes in that smaller size. And so you have Midnight Snack, which...
It's kind of an indigo type. And indigo types historically have not had the greatest flavor. This is the best flavor of the indigo type.
So if the anthocyanins is something you're interested in, this is probably the best one of that bunch.
Yeah.
It doesn't stand out for us flavor-wise as like being as sweet as some of these others.
It's more of a classic tomatoey flavor with a hint of the smokiness that comes from the anthocyanins.
But they're pretty. They're very pretty.
Absolutely.
But for flavor, for that darker color, what's your favorite?
I still like the classic black cherry, and it's been around for decades. I really like it though.
Yeah, that one's one of your favorites. I like the Sunrise Bumblebee because it has the pretty little stripes, and that's just sweet. I could eat a whole bowl of those.
Just sweet, little bit of tart in there to make it a really nice balanced flavor.
Yeah, that Sunrise Bumblebee is fantastic, and Sun Sugar is an orange one that's super sweet. We've really enjoyed that. People ask us all the time, do you have Sun Gold? And I'm like, no, we don't have Sun Gold because that one splits. And it is very sweet. It's very good. But if you leave it on, it splits, and I don't like them when they split. I like to be able to pick them and bring them in a bowl.
Yeah, and so Sun Sugar is basically a Sun Gold that doesn't split. So,
and that's really sweet. And then Blush, again, I have a weakness for the yellow tomatoes. This one is a torpedo-shaped little yellow one, super sweet, super lovely. And that one comes on and off our list because it is not.
For whatever reason, we can't. It's hard to get people to buy that one. As a plant, the market gardeners say it's one of their top ones because it's such a pretty one and it's so flavorful. But it's on and off the list because we always have do we have room or not? And this year it's back because we had somebody request it. So
and I like it, and
it's one of our favorites.
Yeah, Brad's Atomic is on our list. Again, this is a divisive tomato. People either really like or really don't like the flavor of this one. It has a kind of a sweet, earthy flavor. It's different. But it's beautiful. It's got all these colors and stripes and that elongated shape.
Yeah. But as you talk to people, they either love it or they hate it. And we've had some that we just absolutely loved. There's a lot of days I'm thinking, oh, that earthy, smoky flavor isn't what I'm looking for. But a lot of people it is. So we've kept that on the list.
And then just two classic grapes, Juliet, which is kind of a bigger. It's almost a plum size. It's the biggest grape.
It's kind of a mini Roma almost.
Yeah, but it's a little sweeter. It doesn't crack, but it is a little thicker skinned.
Yeah.
It is a little thicker skinned. And Napa grape, which is kind of the classic grape tomato, and it's really very tasty and very good, but I liked Ruby Crush even better, and it's a way tidier plant.
Yeah, if we had just room in our garden for one small tomato across all these different ones,
Ruby Crush,
I think is what I would go with.
It's and the Napa grape does have a high Brix. It's very sweet. It's very delicious. There's nothing wrong with it. It works great. But Ruby Crush outperformed it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're still going small.
So a little bit bigger. Let's talk about those that are kind of golf ball size. Call it the cocktail category.
Cocktail category. Rare Seed sells this one. This is black strawberry. You've got kind of a plummy flavor. You've got beautiful pink and dark stripy things. That's one of my favorites. I kind of really like that one. It's pretty. It's delicious. It's kind of got a fruity undertone to it that I enjoy.
And it was just pretty in the garden.
Yeah,
it was always a standout.
And it's so Stephen does all the desk work and the research and the making sure, and we're gonna double check and see reviews and things, and I run the greenhouse and I make sure it's gonna grow in the greenhouse, and black strawberry is one of the ones that every year comes through the greenhouse and I'm like, this is a nice looking plant. It's a nice looking plant to grow. It works really good.
Yeah. And we're bringing back for a number of years, we've had Honey Delight. It's a really nice yellow, very sweet, very mild flavored cocktail one.
It's a good one to match with its companion, the Mountain Magic.
Yeah, Mountain Magic is basically kind of the
red version.
Red equivalent of it.
It's almost like, yeah.
And one of the things I like about Mountain Magic, with beyond all its good flavor, all that kind of stuff, is it's got some level of septoria resistance, which here in Iowa is probably one of the more common tomato diseases on rainy years. So it's nice to have one that tastes good. Basically, if you've ever bought a Campari tomato from the grocery store, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, they're really nice. They're a good, solid, small, snacking sized tomato.
Yeah. And you really liked Tropical Sunset this last year too.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for stripes.
New one this last year.
It's like yellow, orange, pinky stripes, and it's really pretty. Again, the plant, growing it in the greenhouse, it's a sturdy, nice plant, and it's just gorgeous. The taste is fruity. It's a little tangier than some of our other yellow ones, so it's got this really cool flavor.
Yeah, it's got a Brix of about 8.0, which is still really, really sweet, not overpoweringly sweet, but
yeah,
still pretty darn good.
Yeah, that one's really fun. And
the last one in this category that we trialed last year, and I think we offered it for sale, but we lost a bunch at the beginning of the season, so we only had like 4 or 5 go out. As a new one called Too Tasty.
That one stomped last year. That was really good.
And that one, when we had issues at the beginning of the year, we thought, oh man, we lost our one plant we were going to trial.
And one left, and I was like,
and it broke, and
yeah.
So we just stuck the stem into some potting soil and watered it, and it came back up.
Yeah.
And we were able to basically resurrect that one, and oh my goodness, it was productive. And it's pretty. It's
got the red and kind of the darker shoulders with the, again, that anthocyanin stuff, but it was really
tasty.
It was really tasty.
The Burpee's website says that the Burpee interns voted this one as being more sweet than Sun Gold or Sun Sugar, whichever. Yeah, Sun Gold, which is a really, really high bar. I thought they were very sweet, but it's just a really unique flavor. The very first one that I ate, if I had been blindfolded, I would have thought I was eating a plum.
Yeah.
And so it's sweet, but it's got an interesting...
It's got a complexity
of flavor that's almost hard to describe, but I really like that one.
But the texture is good too. So you're not, again, back to seedy, juicy, not so great. This has a good texture. It had a good flavor. It didn't get blossom end rot for us, and it produced
through the end of the season. That was the last plant to pull up for us this year.
Yeah.
And it was still producing.
So I liked that one.
And the size stayed. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
That one was pretty good. So that's all our little tomatoes for this year. And if you didn't hear yours mentioned, it doesn't mean we don't like it. It means we ran out of room. There's not very many that we haven't liked, but those are our favorites this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's our next category?
Let's move up. Let's continue with the Indeterminate. So those that will get a little bit bigger, I probably wouldn't put these in a container unless it's like a 14-gallon pot with a fairly big structure. A lot of these are ones that we've had over the last couple of years.
Starting with our first one that's over 100 years old. Arkansas Traveler is an heirloom. It performs really well in the heat. It'll keep setting blooms. There's some other things that on a good year will outdo it, but this one's really...
It's been very consistent
Very consistent, and it blooms clear through the heat. It doesn't crack. It's got a really good flavor. It just kind of always works.
It holds its size throughout the season. It's a nice, sweet flavor for a 100-year-old pink one that can manage the heat really well.
I do like the pinks.
So last year we had also brought in, that fits kind of the same category, Estiva, which is a very new slicer that size, also known to produce really well in the heat. We trialed that one. What did you think of that one?
It was okay. It was okay. It was a tomato. In that category, I probably like the Arkansas Traveler flavor a little bit better, but the Estiva is probably a little more consistent.
Yeah,
because it's newer.
They were both very productive.
They were very productive.
We'll give them both a try again this year and see what everybody else thinks, but probably not room for both of them long term. But anyway, we'll see. Let us know what you thought of that one as well.
Yeah. The next one is a new one for us this year, and it has nothing to recommend it except for it has a story.
So any of you who follow the M.I. Gardner probably has heard him talking about the giant crimson tomato, which is one I basically said it was extinct for 45 years. Somehow he came upon a packet of seeds that was 85 years old, and they tried to germinate it, and they were able to get, I think, one or two to germinate. One survived, and they've been reproducing and saving seed from that, and now offering that out.
And so we were able to get 10 whole seeds. That's all.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, we could trial it for ourselves, but we'll share it with you. And if you're interested to try one, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a big, juicy, watery beef steaky type of thing, probably with some yummy flavor.
Yeah, so there's not a lot in the description, but if you're interested in trying a little bit of history, that would be a fun one to try.
It's got a fun story.
So, and then some others that we've, in this general category of slicers that we've had for a couple of years, Goliath Early. We use this to replace Early Girl, which a lot of people really like because of the earliness. Goliath Early is earlier
And bigger.
And I think it tastes better.
Yeah, Early Girl. Since so many things have gone into tomato breeding, and they keep shortening the window, and so earlier doesn't mean what it used to mean.
Yeah, it used to be that early meant small and tasteless. There's been a lot of efforts to change both of those issues.
Yeah,
and
so there's a lot of improvements,
and
and this one's a really good one. And we look for that when we're looking at our different heirlooms, because not all heirlooms are created equal, and some of them are really long season. But this next one, Tappy's Heritage, is one that we thought was really worth it, and it's not actually all that. It is longer than Goliath. We're looking at like 60 days to 85 days difference for that same category. But tell us about Tappy's.
Yeah, Tappy's has been around for a long time, and we've sold it for a long time. Really good old-fashioned tomatoey flavor. It seems like a lot of the breeding efforts nowadays gets us sweeter tomatoes, which are delicious. But if you really like the old-fashioned tomatoey flavor, Tappy's Heritage has been a really good one for that.
But it has pretty good disease resistance. So like some of my
produces really well.
Brandywine has really good flavor, but it doesn't have any disease resistance. Tappy's has some disease resistance.
Yeah. And then on down from there, Big Beef Plus is one that we're bringing in this year. If you've liked the old Big Beef, which has been a classic for a lot of years, Big Beef Plus is basically a step up from that. They added, get into the breeding talk for just a minute, they added a lycopene gene, so it's a little bit redder, carries more of the antioxidants from the lycopene. Also brought in some additional disease resistance, and it may not be the disease resistance that you're hoping for in a regular Iowa garden, but there are some geographies throughout the U.S. that
need some help.
that can't grow big beef at all because of the diseases, and the Big Beef Plus took care of that. Plus, they added in a little more sweet,
yeah.
And so the Brix value is higher on this one than the old Big Beef as well. And a lot of the pluses, we'll talk about a couple of different of the plus series that came out this year. That's basically what they did. They added disease resistance. They added some additional nutrient in various forms, and they added additional sweetness to them.
Which is cool, because they've been able to do some things with plant breeding more recently that they couldn't have done years and years ago, because now you can sequence genes and you can say, I want to do this, but I don't want to lose this, and they can do that in a way faster way.
They can do it in a way faster way. Historically, you had to wait until, if you were going to cross a tomato with good disease resistance with a tomato that had low disease resistance but had the flavor you wanted, you had to wait till you grew out those seeds and then tasted it at the end of the season to know what it was like. Nowadays with molecular markers, they can tell soon after that cross is made, did we get the genes for flavor, and did we also get the genes for the disease resistance, and then they can select from that population and get the traits that you want a lot easier, a lot quicker. And I've noticed, even since we've been doing plant sales, the rate at which the improvement in all of those things is coming together is just way faster than it's ever been before.
And this is not, so people get scared. They're like, oh, I don't want any GMO plants. These are not GMO plants. We are not editing the genes. We are not changing genes. We can just check to see where they are.
Yeah.
and that's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fun.
And plus, a lot of these things, they do 3 or 4 cycles in a year. It used to be, we could grow it. We could grow in one season in North America. Now we've got greenhouses. We got greenhouses in South America. There's so much
speeds it up.
that has sped up the process to get us better products. It's just kind of fun to watch as we have kept really good close watch over these things the last few years. And Big Beef Plus is one of those ones where historically it would have taken 20 years to breed what they were able to do in probably 3 or 4 years to get Big Beef up to the standard that it needs to be now.
Yeah, because we have more disease pressure and insect pressure than we did when it was first introduced.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have several of these. These are all going to be kind of classic ones. You might find these at a big box store, but they're good. They're worth growing. So Big Boy and Big Daddy, you might find at a big box store. Anything you want to say about those?
Just big red classic tomatoes, nicer, a little bit sweeter, which And I think why Big Boy became such a big hit is because it had a really good flavor.
Yeah, so that's about 60 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and Big Daddy's a descendant of Big Boy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you get that same good flavor, disease resistance, very good yield. Talking about genetics and Brandywine, which is one of the very favorite ones, but without a lot of extra help, it can be difficult to grow. Brandy Boy is on this list. Tell me about Brandy Boy.
Yeah, Brandy Boy is one where we've had it on the list, we've taken it off the list, we've had it back on the list.
It's really good.
And that's basically one of the early attempts to give some more disease resistance to Brandywine. We really like the flavor, and a lot of people like the flavor, which is why we brought that one back onto the list.
It's a pink. I like the pinks, and it's a cross with, I think it's with Big Boy. So is it Brandywine Big Boy, or it's one of the boy
series?
I'm
not sure.
And so you get the higher productivity a little bit better.
Yeah. So
and the flavor is fantastic.
It's a really good one.
And our next three are all flavor bombs. They're so good.
And I would love to hear if any of you have ever grown the Caspian Pink. Please comment down below what you thought of that one. We tried to trial that one this last year, and went on vacation and came back, and the plant was like missing. So I don't know what happened to it.
We'll try again.
But the reviews and everybody that we have talked to have loved it so much that, even in some reviews they're saying it's better than Brandywine for flavor. But we're going to try that one again this year and see what we think. But if you got one last year, let us know what you thought of that one as well.
One that we've tasted a lot of is the Hungarian Heart and the Italian Heirloom. And they're kind of similar. They're ox heart tomatoes. And they're really dense. They're really meaty. They kind of grow on these wispy little vines. They drive me crazy in the greenhouse. Every year I'm going to be like, oh, why do I grow these? Because I want to flop down like so many of the paste tomatoes with this.
Yeah, probably the biggest one that I've ever received complaints or I think you gave me sick plants was Hungarian Heart, and it's not a sick plant, it's just the way it looks.
It's got a really weepy, kind of drapey habit, and it does not look like it's going to hold up to the enormous fruit that's on it.
Yeah, they're huge and they're delicious, and people that like them frequently, that's the only thing that they buy.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to find an ox heart to supplement it.
But that's still the best one we've tried.
And we still haven't found one. If you've got one that you recommend, let us know that in the comments as well.
We tried a kind of really expensive one that did not work.
Tried, is it Carolina? A couple years ago. Carolina. Anyway, that one
didn't do as well for us.
Grew better, but it didn't have the flavor that we were hoping for.
Yeah, and Madame Marmande.
Yeah, so that was one that we tried this last year and we're very pleased with.
It's pretty. It's got that kind of, it's a French variety. It's got this nice, really tidy form. It's a pretty tomato. Yeah,
so our description is it's a culinary star in France, where you would scoop it out and fill it with mild cheese.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't totally hollow. Like some of these tomatoes, they do for stuffing.
It wasn't totally hollow, but it would be very easy to hollow out compared to some of the others. So it had a very specific purpose, but we had a lot of people that were really liked those last year.
Okay, and Beefmaster, you had a story for Beefmaster.
So Beefmaster, I have to go back and look now. So Beefmaster is one of our big red tomatoes that we've carried for several years. It's probably amongst the sweetest of the big reds.
It's got a really good flavor. I like that one.
And there's somebody on one of the Facebook groups that I follow who I'd say he's in his 80s, and he started telling some stories recently and come to find out that he was the person who named Beefmaster. And they had originally named it something else, and
it didn't sell well.
Well, no, it wasn't a sell well thing. A company in a totally unrelated industry was using the same name and came after them. And he was like, "Well, should we fight this one? I mean, hello, tomato seeds versus totally unrelated industry." And the legal counsel basically said, yeah, it's not worth fighting this one.
Just change the name.
So they changed the name to Beefmaster.
Beefmaster. It's a really good one. I like it. It doesn't really split or crack. It's like the big beef one. It works. It works, and it tastes good. Better Boy is in that group. You've probably grown that one if you've grown tomatoes for any line. But we have Better Boy Plus this year too. What did they do?
So kind of the same thing. It's just we added a little bit of sweetness, added some disease resistance. Better Boy by itself has been one of our top sellers, so I didn't want to do a full replacement right off the bat, but give people an opportunity to try out both of them and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
So And in terms of what have we brought in new for this big red tomato category, we brought in
Big Zack.
Big Zack. And if you are not familiar with Big Zack, it's big. And it was bred from 2 heirloom tomatoes to give a really big, so like 2, 3, 4 pound tomatoes that have an amazing classic tomato flavor. If you're looking for a really sweet type of one, you probably wouldn't like this, but the reviews, the people we've talked to, say that
It's got a really good
it's
flavor.
got amazing classic tomato flavor. So if you want a really big one, classic tomato flavor, that's the one to try out this
and
year.
that replaces some of our other great big ones like Delicious and stuff that were okay, but they really didn't perform
Yeah.
especially well.
Yeah. So, and then kind of just wrap up with the 3 heirlooms.
So Brandywine, we grow, and I keep trying to get away from this. Nobody listens to me because, again, there have been very many improvements. I would say take a Brandy Boy. We used to carry Mountain Rouge, which was another attempt at replacing that. The flavor is really good. It's a picky plant to grow, and it doesn't have a lot of disease resistance. But if you get one, they're fantastic.
But yeah, so if you get 3 or 4 tomatoes, be really happy and really enjoy them because they're delicious. But it's kind of a tomato 401 plant to grow, not a 101 plant to grow.
Yeah.
And then just wrapping out our big reds for Indeterminates. Mortgage Lifter, you can get that anywhere. It's been a classic that people have loved for almost 100 years now.
And it does fine. It does great.
Yep. And Wood's Famous Brimmer is another big red one that people have asked for and keep coming back. It's over 100 years old. Makes great BLTs.
Yep. That's a 1912 variety, so some of them are been up there for a while. Switching gears to colors, we have a lot of red tomatoes, and you might be like, "Oh, the red tomatoes taste the same." They don't exactly taste the same. We do test them, but we'll branch out now. Tell us about our yellow tomatoes, yellow and orange.
Yeah. So one thing that we've changed this year is back to that Plus series. We've had Lemon Boy for a number of years. This year we moved to Lemon Boy Plus. And basically it's sweeter, more disease resistance, and
this would be more like a big boy or something. It's kind of that regular round shape. If you cut it open, it's going to have that slicer texture inside, and it's going to taste a little milder. But it's kind of like the yellow version of those red ones.
Yeah. And kind of similar to that. So that's more of a yellowish one. Although it can get a little bit more gold as you wait. If you leave it on the vine longer, it'll turn a little bit more goldish color. But we also have Orange Wellington, which has been our favorite big round orange one that we've had for a number of years. We've trialed a bunch of them, but this has been our favorite one. Mild, sweet, super sweet flavor.
And the Wellington is a little meatier, I'll say.
Yeah, a little meatier. Brings some really nice color and flavor into like a
fresh salsa. That's one of my. If I'm picking for fresh salsa, we're picking from this list of my oranges and yellows. The Dr. Wychee, the Kellogg's Breakfast, they're all super meaty, juicy, delicious flavor. We made BLTs and we used one for our entire family. I have a big family. It's really
and they're
good.
Super delicious.
They're super delicious.
And but we wanted to bring in one more heirloom beyond the Dr. Wychees and the Kellogg's Breakfast, and that this year is Virginia Sweets,
which has got a kind of pinky tone to it too. So it's sort of like like the hillbilly type tomatoes.
So yeah, it has a little bit of striping to it, but generally it's more yellow orangish with kind of some red stripes in it. The people that have kind of introduced us to it have said that's really their favorite.
Yeah.
In terms of flavor across all the tomatoes they've ever grown, Virginia Sweet seems to be one that has consistently been at the top of the list for people. And so we wanted to try that one this year.
Plus it's got the pretty stripes.
Plus it's pretty.
Plus it's pretty.
Yeah. So
and it should yield well, hopefully.
Yeah. So if we want to take a look at some of the other colored ones, we got greens and purples and blues and blacks. What do we got next?
Aunt Ruby's German green. We've done this one several times. It's a nice big green tomato. I am a little scared of a green tomato too, but if you blindfold yourself and eat a green tomato, they'll be fantastic. You just don't
delicious.
Let your brain freak you out and be like, oh, that's not right.
That's not going to be right.
Or something.
Our kids are kind of freaked out by that as well, but we're like, okay, just close your eyes. Let's we'll feed you a little bite, and they're like, oh man, that's actually really good. Yeah, it is really good.
It is really good.
And another one that we're bring in this year that we've heard lots about for several years, but thought this is the year to bring it in because, quite frankly, it fit on the page.
We're just trying to stuff a little more in.
Trying to not get over 100 tomatoes a year this year, but how would you pronounce that? Ananas noir? I just call it the
translated black pineapple.
The black pineapple. If you've ever had pineapple, here's the black pineapple.
It's got the green, and it's green and red instead of being yellow and orange, and
it's just another one where the
really
flavor
pretty.
is what has really been called out on that one.
So
and it's
the description: sweet, rich, smoky, acidic undertones. It looks fantastic. It'll make
looks really good, and like I said, everybody thinks the flavor is fantastic.
It'll be in the 1 to 2 pounds range. So again, it'll be kind of a bigger one. Takes a little bit longer. Where with those bigger beef steaks, they're 85 days. Somewhere in there to the ripe one.
But it's worth it to wait. So.
Yeah, some things are worth waiting for. Sart Rolloy.
Yeah, so Sart Rolloy is one that we brought in last year that was recommended to us, and it was one of the, frequently we'll bring in an heirloom and we're like, doesn't produce all that well, but flavor's really good. This is one that actually produced really well for us.
And it's stunningly beautiful.
And
it's fantastic. So it's yellow, and they've got kind of purple shoulders on it that's striped down to the side. It's really pretty. It didn't crack. It didn't get ugly. It tasted good.
Sometimes when people post pictures of their tomatoes, I think, oh,
you see the bottoms.
they had to hand select the ones so that they found the prettiest one. This one, every single one of them looked really good.
Yeah, they were,
and they tasted pretty good too. So beyond that, just our classics that we've had for several years: Black Creme, Cherokee Purple, Paul Robeson.
Berkeley Pink tie-dye is on there.
Yeah, so good classic. If you like the little darker colored ones, they have usually a little bit more of a smoky flavor.
So more complex and more undertones. It's kind of fun. Of those, the Black Creme keeps the green shoulders more. The Paul Robeson is, I think, the prettiest of the three, where it's a more consistent color, kind of that brick red color, but it ripens all together. And Cherokee Purple, again, has a little greener shoulders.
So
then we're going to flip pages.
The flip pages come on back, so...
Oh, paste tomatoes.
So, paste tomatoes.
Last year, we trialed a whole bunch. The last 2 years, we've been really working on paste tomatoes, because a lot of people say, well, the tomato's nice, but you can only eat so many tomatoes in a BLT all summer. I want to can them. I want to make sauce. I want to have salsa. I want to do something in a big way with them. And so we've looked at our lineup of paste tomatoes, and we've made a lot of changes.
Yeah, and a lot of people will come to us and say, I just want aroma. And I'm like, Roma the category or Roma the variety? Because Roma the variety, which was such a game changer that it kind of became the Kleenex of the two-shoe world. So everybody calls the category Romas now, it seems like. But it's like a 1950s pickup. It's classic, it's iconic, but I like power steering
and heated seats, right? So you can get some improvements.
So we've been really trying to get something a little bit better while still carrying the classic Roma VF for those who want to still go with the 1950s pickup, which those are pretty cool.
They're pretty cool, and it tastes great, but they're little, and it's a more sprawly plant. So it's a semi-determinate. It kind of goes blah everywhere, and there's fruit everywhere on it, which is fine, unless you're trying to keep it contained.
Yeah, I mean, and they're small if you want to do canning or something.
And you don't want to peel a whole bunch of little tiny ones. We've got bigger ones.
Yeah, so after trialing a whole bunch of different ones this last year, we really narrowed the list down. So La Roma 3 is one of the key ones that we brought in last year and really, really liked. It was a healthy plant. I like the bigger fruits for aroma.
It's a nice size Roma. If you're buying it in the grocery store and you're like, this is what a Roma is supposed to look like, you're probably getting something like a La Roma 3 or a Plum Regal from the grocery store. You're not getting Roma VF, because Roma VF is tiny.
It's tiny, yeah. So Roma VF, just by comparison, is about 2 ounces. La Roma 3, which we brought in last year, is 5 to 8 ounces. That's certainly one of the bigger ones. So if you're used to getting a big handful of a Roma tomato, that could be what it is. Plum Regal is 3 to 4 ounces. Super disease resistant. We've been very, very happy with it. Both La Roma 3 and Plum Regal were very high producing. And so I wanted to keep both of those.
And Supremo too. So Supremo's in that category. It's just like a nice handful of a Roma tomato if you're going to make something that you don't need like 2 pounds of tomato for.
Yeah.
It's a nice.
Yeah,
Nice
so those three in the same category. And then to kind of round out the red ones, super sauce has been one that we have
It's huge.
kept.
I was like, the first year we grew it, I didn't like it because it said it was indeterminate, and we tried to grow it on a trellis, and it didn't want to. It kind of couldn't figure out what we were doing, and I couldn't figure out what it was doing. But in a nice big cage, it gives you about 1 pound Roma type fruit.
Really nice big 1 pound Roma type fruit, and they're loaded.
They're loaded.
It's not
It's
like
good.
1 or 2, it's like 20.
Yeah, so those are good. And then sunrise sauce is actually a yellow plum tomato, and I really like those. I actually made all yellow tomato ketchup because I had enough production off of these plants to do an all yellow batch of things. They were very productive, very good.
Yeah, and those have become very popular. The cost of the seeds like quadrupled this year because I think enough people realized, hey, that's a really good one.
I like that one.
Yep.
So if you wanted a not red Roma, sunrise sauce is awesome.
Yeah, so those are the Determinate paste tomatoes. Did we cover the Indeterminate paste tomatoes? I don't remember if we did that.
No, because you didn't do Amish paste.
Okay,
Which
yeah.
is where we usually start, because that's the nice big heirloom we grow and sell a lot of these. They're very popular. They're a good kind of all-around tomato. They're not, some Roma type tomatoes can be really dry. They're not really good for slicing. Amish paste is a good all-around one. It's meaty, but it's not dry.
Yeah. So, and these are, Amish paste is an indeterminate, meaning it needs a bigger cage or a trellis or something. So we'll hit on with some of our other indeterminates, and most of these are ones that you're familiar with. We've grown before. Gladiator's one we've had for several years. It's a nice bigger one that you would want to grow on a trellis.
Yeah, that's claim is that, and we've not had trouble with it, is that a lot of these paste tomatoes need more calcium than some of your other tomatoes, and they'll blossom and rot faster than other tomatoes. So if you're growing like San Marzano, we always have trouble with a San Marzano and blossom and rot because they need so much calcium. This Gladiator is supposed to have stronger roots and more resistance, and I haven't had any trouble with
Never had
blossom
any
and
issues
rot
with it, and that's
so.
frequently people ask for that one because they've had blossom and drought on some of the others.
Yeah, Granadero is one of my very favorites. Very productive. It's indeterminate, so it'll grow, but we get bowlfuls of the Granadero, and it's just a really nice.
It's a really nice one. It's kind of like La Roma 3 on the Determinate side, so decent size, not gargantuan, but still really, really nice size.
And very consistent, lovely production.
Yeah.
San Marzano we do carry. We do the San Marzano 2, I think. And it's the classic Italy flavor, and it's really good. I will recommend that anyone who buys that is more aware of calcium and consistent watering, because we have had trouble with blossom and rot on that one. But if you can get that under control, it's a fabulous tomato.
Yep, a good classic one. And a new one that we're trying this year, I think I pronounce it Zenzi, Zenzei. And this is one that is a 2023 AAS winner for the Midwest. So it is really targeted for where we are at.
I was excited about that. Somebody thought of us.
Yeah, and a couple things, why are we bringing this one in? Number one, it's a bigger fruit size, 6 to 7 ounces. So a really nice big
it's
paste type. And the second thing is it's a dwarf indeterminate. So you should get a harvest throughout the entire season like you do with any indeterminates, but it only gets like 4, 5, 6 feet tall. And so you're not having to deal with a gargantuan cage or a trellis like you would with some of these others.
So the Supremo and the La Roma 3 are determinate. It's decided the plant has a determined amount of fruit set, and
those only get
and they won't carry you all the way
through.
So. Yeah, they won't carry you all the way through the season. So market gardeners and other people are going to plant them in succession, so you always have tomatoes going. But this Zenzi is a dwarf indeterminate, which means as long as you have season, it's going to keep going, which is a kind of cool feature. And it's a AAS winner, isn't it?
Yep, so that's a 2023 AAS winner. So
we're excited.
Excited for that one. So that kind of wraps up the Romas. I remember, I don't know that we hit the rest of our determinants.
There's so many tomatoes. Let me fly through that. That's it. The determinate slicers, I thought we did. But Bush Goliath, Celebrity, Celebrity Plus, BHN 589. Nobody picks that one because it's a number, but it's a great plant.
And that's a really good one. I mean, it's kind of like Celebrity. It's the garden-sized tomato. If you like more of the standard flavor, Celebrity is what everybody's used to. If you like the more of the rich tomatoey flavor, BHN 589 would be a better choice there.
Yeah, it's got a better flavor.
It produces really well on the heat. Just got a funky name, and so a lot of people are a little nervous about it.
But if you're
it's worked well for us.
market growing or something, it's got good shelf life. It's gonna last a little bit longer. So everybody's like, oh, I need all this good flavor in this tomato, but if you want it to last more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
It's a good one.
If you buy at farmers markets, I guarantee you've probably had one. Galahad is one we've carried for several years. You know, again, you can put all these in a container. It's a little bit of a taller one for a container.
Celebrity's on the big end of that. Celebrity and Celebrity Plus and BHN are going to be kind of big on the big end for a container.
Yeah, but they're still doable. And why we kept Galahad? Well, it's got good flavor. It's got really good production. We've had no issues with it. It is one of the ones that also has some resistance to septoria, which again, if you have a lot of rain in a season, seems to be what knocks out a lot of tomato plants here in Central Iowa.
Yeah, Central Iowa. I think that's our disease of choice for tomatoes is the septoria.
And
that one's resistant.
And the last one for a one that you could put in a container is a giant early bush, and this is a new one for us.
It's from the Goliath series.
In the Goliath series, and I struggle with this because everything has Goliath in the name, so trying to keep them separate.
It's very hard.
But we're just going to call it Goliath early bush
or giant early bush.
Giant early bush, not Goliath early bush, because I'll mess that up every single time.
Yep.
But this one is kind of its claim to fame is, you know, if you think that you can only get early tomatoes that don't taste good, this one tastes good. If you think you can only get early tomatoes that are small, this one has big ones.
Yeah, so it's a big, early, tasty tomato.
Yeah. That
you can grow in a pot.
Yeah.
So it's going to solve everybody's problems. We'll see.
Yeah. So reviews are really good on that one, but this will be our first year for that one as well. So I think that is it for our tomatoes.
Except for you didn't cover the ones we're going to do in baskets.
Oh, that's true. We're going to do a couple in baskets. We've been focused so much on containers and in the garden that we knew we were leaving a few people out. And so this year we are trying two different ones in hanging baskets. So
we have the Tumbling Tom red.
Yeah, Tumbling Tom and Tumbling Tom yellow. So those will be in hanging baskets. Basically, they're just little cherry tomatoes that look pretty. They have more of a what do you call it? A trailing.
Yeah, it's got kind of a trailing habit, so it'll cascade over the side of a pot, and it'll be really pretty.
So
and that'll be fun. And we've got 3 that we're gonna try. If you want to try them, you have to let us know.
Yeah, so a couple of the other little smaller ones that we're going to try. Tumbler hybrid is another little tiny plant that's a cherry. Little birdie red robin is another little tiny cherry that we're going to grow. And then another that's kind of on a little bit bigger side, it's more of a slicer, is Ruby Dawn, which is a compact indeterminate. And there's been more of those coming out. And the nice thing again about the compact indeterminates is it may still get 5 or 6 feet tall. But that's compared to 8 feet-ish for a lot of them, so a little smaller.
It'll keep growing, unlike the determinants that are going to be like one big or a couple
of harvests. This one will be able to harvest that throughout the entire season. So that's it for our tomatoes. Post, comment below with any questions you have, or if you think, man, I wish these guys would try something else. We still have time to get seeds to trial some other things. So go ahead.
Probably have seeds if there's something we left off.
So go ahead and comment below. Otherwise, if you liked learning what you could from us, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. And
stay tuned for peppers. We've got even more peppers.
Yeah. So, and then join us again for the pepper video. I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, bye-bye.